Honor and pleasure in introducing to you the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party, Mr. Bobby Schostak.
Thank you. Good evening. That's it? Good evening. Come on, guys. We got an election coming up. We got an election coming up, right? All right, so we got to get a little energy. All right. Paul, you're doing a great job. Thank you for inviting me up here. It's great to be back to the UP. I spent a couple days here this week. I think it's my third trip since I was elected, 4 or 5 in the last couple of years. I spent some time with Tom Casperson when he was running, and the last couple of years with Dan Benachek and his efforts. You really got an outstanding delegation representing this area and this region. I'm very proud to be associated with them and very proud to be your chairman, very proud to be here this evening. You know, I travel the state a lot, and as do many people in this position, as do our new national committee man, effective the next convention, Dave Agema. Great to have you on board. I suspect you'll be seeing lots more of him. But as we travel the country, or travel the state rather, it's rare, it really is, within Michigan, to have such engaged grassroots, passionate people such as yourselves that want only the best for our region and the best for our state and our country. The Democrats do it a little differently, but we do it one person, one activist, one voter, one precinct, one county at a time, and we win elections. And it's that sort of grassroots uprising that really makes it so wonderful for me as I travel the state and get an opportunity to spend some time with all of you. And how much better can it get than having someone like Dan Benachek as our congressional member from the 1st District. I spend a bit of time in Washington a couple times a year for different events and activities, and I get an opportunity to meet with our delegation. And folks, we are blessed. We are truly blessed with one of the finest delegations in America. We have 9 members that are chairing committees, have oversight of important activities in our nation, and they really give a darn about our state and keep it top of mind. And Dan was an absolutely spectacular addition to our delegation. I'm very proud to work with you, Dan. Now, Dan's got a race this year. He's got a fellow running against him who spent time in the State House as a Democrat, and it's no wonder that he'd feel comfortable going to Washington, because Democrats like to tax and spend and build up deficits, as this gentleman did during the Granholm years. So I don't think there's any doubt that if we just put his record out there, that someone like Dr. Dan will just mop up the state and continue to represent you. And I know you're all behind us in making sure that Dan Benachek returns to Washington. And how much better does it get to have a doctor, citizen doctor, kind of politician, but really doesn't like politics, but went to Washington, understands Obamacare, understands what it's like for a working person who made a payroll to run a business and to represent our state. So Dan, just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to get back there. I'd also like to thank you. You know, the Democrats like to defend the status quo, and they so often have done in the past. They just keep kicking the can down the road, and very rarely get to address the true problems of our nation and make the tough decisions. Our party, this last election, 2010, when we put a supermajority in the Senate, we took the majority back in the House, we won the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and of course the governorship. It's no longer kicking the can down the road. Representative Agema, Senator Casperson, and forgive me if there are other members here, but what an outstanding job they've been doing in making sure that Michigan gets back on track. And it's heavy lifting. It's tough to be a legislature. It's tough getting in there and pushing the agenda to keep Michigan and get Michigan back on the right track and keep pushing it to stay on that track. And I know the hard work that they put into it. And I appreciate that, as I know all of you do. Because every day, every week, every month, there's some special interest group, there's some alternative point of view that gets thrown on their desk that takes them off for a moment their agenda. But yet they continue to persevere and push forward and are successful at what they do. And if you want to ask the question, what does great leadership look like? In fact, Obama should ask that question, because we know he doesn't know what great leadership it looks like. Anybody doubt that? Okay. You want to take a look at what great leadership does? Is you put Republicans in charge in Lansing, and in the first year in leadership, they balance a budget. Imagine that, balancing a budget. Wipe out $1.5 billion deficit in the first 6 months in office and say we're not going to put up with it anymore. What else do they do? Through tax reform and other important economic reforms and getting Michigan people back to work, unemployment goes from nearly 13% to now, a year and a half later, to 8.25%. Now, can't give every individual legislator or governor all the credit. However, what they can get credit for, undoubtedly, is Michigan was 48th on every indicator of a place to work, to do business, open a business, tax problems of the state, deficits, bond rating, all that stuff. And by putting in these reforms, Michigan is now on every indicator no worse than 5th best in the nation, and in many of the indicators 2nd best in the nation. And that's now for the first time, Michigan citizens, the hardworking middle class of our state, have reason to believe that Michigan's best days are in front of us, instead of all the doom and gloom that they experienced around the state and we all experienced. That's what a Republican difference is about. By getting Governor Snyder elected, by getting State Senator Casperson elected, and Tom and I and his daughter spent some time around the state a couple years ago, meeting a lot of you, visiting a lot of the counties. I was the finance chairman at the time, and we made sure that we had the resources to elect people like Tom and to take back that House, to win the Senate and make it a supermajority. In fact, we had invested in over 117 races and won 114 races of those 117 last November. And what we expected and what we all had hoped for is the next governor, the next legislature would make tough decisions, that they would cut out deficits. They would pay down, and they did, almost $5 billion of long-term obligations to the state. Almost $5 billion that balance the budget, eliminate on themselves lifetime health care benefits, lift the cap on charter schools so that parents had choices, reform public education so kids and great teachers come first, and doing all the things necessary that Granholm was afraid to do. Remember that famous statement, we're going to be blown away? Remember that in one of her State of the State addresses? We're going to be blown away. Well, we almost were blown away, right off the map. But Republicans said no longer. So Michigan is a leader now in the nation. And I know things up here are still tough. And you're not feeling it maybe like other parts of the state are. And it's going to take a little bit more. We know that. And I know that Dave knows that and Tom knows that. Is that they look around the state, they represent this region, they understand that things need to change. And one of the things that they've done under the leadership of our governor, and there's more to do, is to reform our permitting process so that things that have to happen to get mines opened up and other opportunities for economic employment moving ahead begin to happen. And fortunately, some of that is happening, but as the governor said, there's a lot more work to do on that. So the young people that are here tonight supporting Republican ideals, and God bless you kids for being here, and you've been all around the UP the last couple of days with me. It's great to see you, because that's why we're doing it, isn't it? Amen. We're doing it for these young people. So I just want to say just a couple additional words about our state, then we're going to move on to the election, is that we all need to work together in this 2012 election. We need to support our candidates. We got to work our way through the primary. and pick our favorite for the United States Senate. You got a couple great guys here today that want that role. We're going to pick our candidates for our State House, and we're going to pick our candidates for the Supreme Court. And then we're going to reunite and go forward and make certain that the agenda that Michigan is on, the reinvention of the state that our leaders, our elected leaders, are working so hard and sacrificing for all of us, for what they're doing, that agenda continues. Because if we don't return the State House Republican majority, Michigan goes into neutral. And if we don't keep our Supreme Court a rule of law, common sense conservative justices, and re-elect Steve Markman, and re-elect Brian Zara, and have the opportunity to put a third conservative justice on the court, our recovery goes in reverse. All the good work that they do gets challenged in the Supreme Court, and justices that like to create laws rather than apply the laws that are on our books, the work that they put into making those laws, and Michigan goes backwards. And we know that's not acceptable. So it's important that after this primary in August, that we come together. We have our convention in September. We come together and we work harder than ever and work towards that November election and re-elect for Michigan's recovery. As important as it is to replace Barack Obama, as important as it is to replace Debbie Stabenow, the Michigan recovery must remain top of mind. And we must band together and make certain that our House Republicans, our conservative justices, return to Lansing so the work can continue. Now this turnaround that we're talking about is the example for the nation. We are ground zero. We were ground zero for the recession, and we're now ground zero for the recovery. We're ground zero to show the nation what great leadership looks like. As we show the nation how we became a red state in 2010 and continue to be a red state in 2012 on what it means to send great leadership to Washington. Now this election cycle, we don't need creative slogans, do we? We don't need fancy bumper stickers. All we have to do is let Obama speak for himself and listen to his words and watch his actions. He is, in my view, respected. Don't mean I disrespect. He is a single-minded, eye-oriented, and he's disrespected the Oval Office, plain and simple. And it's up to all of us to bring respect back. It's up to all of us to bring respect back to the White House and into the Oval Office. Now, we said the pledge a bit ago. Those are inalienable rights given to us by God at conception. No one takes those away from us except God himself. So no Barack Obama, no Debbie Stabenow, no elected official. We follow the Constitution. And when we put the Constitution at work, liberty will prevail and our freedoms will return. Barack Obama had the audacity to say not long ago, 3.5 years ago, that those who allow our national debt to soar and to run these numbers is unpatriotic. Yet, for the last 3 years, he's added $5 trillion to the deficit. Not only has he added $5 trillion, he has the audacity to say that it would be a net spending cut his years in office. By the end of term, he cut it in half. Well, what has he done? 3 years straight, and now the current budget, $1.3 trillion average deficit, as recently stated by the Wall Street Journal. Every budget Obama puts out is the deficit. Even last week, while on the campaign trail, which we've nicknamed him Campaigner-in-Chief, he no longer is our chief executive. He's the best campaigner in the nation with the power of the White House behind him. The campaigner-in-chief had the audacity to say that this year he's cut the budget, cut the deficit, and he's cut the deficit more than any president over 60 years. And what kind of math is he using? Okay, I mean, this budget has a $1.3 trillion deficit in it. And on top of that, if you look at all of how he uses the math, how he uses the calculator to get to these numbers, he doesn't include his 2009 spending. Well, whose is it? His 2009 spending has that $1 trillion stimulus plan, which didn't produce any jobs, just spent a lot of money. So when he gets away with telling the American people that, it's up to us to say no more. It's up to us to support Dan Benchek when he says, I want a balanced budget amendment. That's the only thing that Washington will understand. And Dan, God bless you for saying so and speaking up. Winning this election is going to be hard work because he is a campaigner-in-chief. And he's got the power of the White House and Air Force One and all the tools. But it will not be because of a lack of money that we don't win this election. We will have the resources between the RNC, the Romney campaign, the state parties, Americans for Prosperity, Crossroads, you name them. They're all out there piling up the resources to help us win the United States Senate back, keep our House of Representatives in Washington, and win the presidency. What they need is what I have, hopefully, with all of you: human resources. We raised records amounts of money last cycle. We'll raise records amount of money this cycle. We won't have problems running the Michigan campaigns based on resources, financial resources. We need the human resources. We need what all of you bring to the table that the Democrats don't have: your willingness to make phone calls, to knock on doors, to deliver yard signs. There was a lady here talking to me earlier up here. Make sure we get Romney bumper stickers and signs. You shouldn't have to ask that question. Darn right you're going to get them, and we'll make sure of it. But we got to work harder than ever and smarter than ever and be more tactful in our moves and make certain that we've talked to our neighbors and talked to our friends and talked to the young people in our universities and who are out there looking for work, so that we elect the United States Senator from Michigan that's wearing the Republican badge, and that we replace Barack Obama with Mitt Romney, and we keep our State House and our Supreme Court. Are you ready to defeat Barack Obama? Yeah. Are you? Are you with me on that? Our success is entirely dependent on all of you. It's entirely dependent on you. And I know it's a lot of responsibility, but I know you're ready for it. Our nation and the direction and our future, this is the most important election of our lifetime. There isn't any question about it. Our Constitution's at risk, our freedom and our liberties, our religious freedom. It's all on the table. He wants to change fundamentally the way America works and what America stands for. There are no more apology tours. We're proud of this nation. We work hard here. We build the best, and we are the best. And we are not going to let a president of the United States go on some kind of tour. What did he do during his campaign? He goes to Europe to start to, I believe, lay out the stage for his ultimate rule of the universe. That's what he wants. He wants to rule this globe. It's beyond America. Now, I know those are harsh words, but and they are emotional. But our country is at a crossroads, folks, and it's up to us to stand strong and stand together and to fight hard and to demand better, and to support Dave and to support Tom and help one of these gentlemen that are running for the United States Senate win a Senate seat, and keep Dr. Dan in Washington. He's the shining example of what our country needs. I know you're with me on that. I am all in, as you could probably hear it in my voice. There is nothing more important other than my grandchildren in Cleveland, who I want to move back here, and my grandchildren and my children, my wife, of 35 years and 2 weeks. There's nothing more important than this election to me. And I know you're with me. We're going to make Michigan make history by sending through Michigan a Republican to the White House. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Benchek, and I appreciate you joining me for another